love, it's nap time. Welcome back to my next episode. We have a lot of fun things planned for today's episode. I'm very excited that you're here. If you're watching this, thank you so much for being here. I've wanted to do this for a while now, and I'm just really glad that I finally have the motivation to actually the motivation to actually get it done. I forgot that I have a computer that I'm going to be using today along with my trusty notebook to get this ball rolling, because today I want to talk about platonic versus in love characters, whether they are canon or not. Obviously in fiction, because I said characters. I'm going to read to you a couple Reddit stories that I read recently, and I was like, well, that's something that needs to be discussed. And then I'm going to tell you guys about this exciting Dungeons and Dragons board game that I acquired recently that I've just absolutely loved playing, that is several years old, and I can't believe I'd never heard about it before. Yeah, so let's get into it. So first, I just want to tell you guys, this weekend I live with my boyfriend, and we like to play video games together. We like to play games together, board games. We've played chess exactly one time. We really love playing video games together. Stardew, we have, I think, 90 hours at least put into our farm together. And we also like playing Fortnite because, well, it's free, and he really loves playing against other people. I'm not a super big fan. This weekend we were hanging out and just, playing a little bit. We like to level up 1 or 2 times a day. And we were inebriated. And playing this game is, it's already like a little goofy, a little fun. We can't play it on the same TV. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to play Fortnite with someone that's in the same house as you on the same TV, but it does a real weird split screen thing, where it splits it vertically, person on top, person on bottom, or I guess would you say that this is vertically because the line is going up and down? It stacks them horizontal. I don't know. I guess that's a matter of perspective. So it stacks the screens, boop, boop. And then half of your screen on top is taken up with just like a giant image of whatever skin it is that you're currently wearing. So when we play together, he has to play on my Switch. I have a Switch Lite. I got it during the pandemic. And he also recently acquired like an actual Switch from his dad. And so he'll play on one of those, and then I play on the PlayStation. And I don't think any of that's important. But so we're playing this weekend and, feeling loosey-goosey and everything. And we're just sitting there just driving around, because that was all we wanted to do at that moment. We were like, man, this is so pretty. I just want to drive around. I don't actually feel like fighting anybody. But, you come across people, and so we're like fighting people, and well, he's not. He spent a good portion of the time sightseeing. Like, he would put the Switch down and just, like, watch the TV while I drove us around the screen. And he's like, this is so pretty. And so it was about a 20-minute long match. Towards the end of the match, we're driving through there's like a tulip field covered in snow in a portion of the map. And he's driving now because we'd gotten stuck in a storm, and I just was standing by the car staring at it, zoned out completely. So he was driving at this point in time, and he saw a person gliding down, because there's islands that show up above you in the match. And so he sees this person gliding down, and he's like, oh, what is this guy doing? And he like turns the car around to try to hit the guy, but the guy is running away and also trying to attack us. So for a solid while, my boyfriend is driving in a complete circle during this video game. just absolutely blitzed out of his fucking head, driving in a circle. And it's, and then we died, and we somehow ranked 3rd, which is absolutely hilarious. Given the fact that we were not really there. So also this weekend, we were having the discussion of fictional characters that are in love and people might not always recognize that they're in love, and it bothers me very deeply, because the characters that people don't recognize are in love are typically homosexual, and that just gets me. So I wanted to go through a list of the ones that I've seen argued the most and where I stand on them. You cannot convince me otherwise. I assure you, people have tried. Some of these are for shows that I haven't even watched, but I have seen so much information on them. I've consumed so much media on them, even without watching the show, that I truly believe that this is where these people are, okay? So here's where we're gonna get into this. First of all, absolutely in love, and you can't convince me otherwise, Magneto and Xavier. Every version of them, okay? X-Men were the first comics that I read as a kid. Honestly, the main comics that I read as a kid, because I read a lot of mythology. That's not the point. Magneto and Xavier are in love. They are deeply in love. In the movies, in the comics, in the weird prequel, postquel movies that they made with Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy, who were, gorgeous people. They're definitely in love, for sure. Have done some things. They're absolutely, every single iteration of them is in love. Some of these that I have written down are only in love in certain interpretations. And you know what? That's an acting choice. That's completely up to them. Whatever. You know who else is absolutely in love? Dean and Castiel. Dean and Castiel. Why are people so against this? Castiel, spoiler if you haven't finished the show, Castiel literally dies confessing his love for Dean. The actor confirmed that that's what he was doing. And people are still like, oh no, they're just like really good friends. They just see each other as brothers. Or no, it's not the case. It is not the case. I've had this argument with multiple people. It's not the case. I mean, one of the times Cass dies, Dean keeps his trench coat in the back of his car just in case someday he comes back. The way that he looks at him, the first time he's ever laughed, I mean, the tension, you know how many times in that show Dean and Cass fully look at each other's lips and then back up at each other, and they're standing really close all the time. Everyone mentions that, like, they're boyfriends. They never deny it, by the way. They're obviously in love. And people that don't think it, you might be a little homophobic. I'm kidding. But I'm not. Okay, we're going to take a break. Take a little bit of break from the ones that are obviously in love. Ones that I believe are completely platonic. Obi-Wan and Anakin, I have seen them ship together. I truly believe that is an older brother, younger brother dynamic. Truly. They love each other deeply. And I want that to be known. But they love each other as brothers. There is nothing romantic there. I think it's really weird when people say that. It's... Also, actual brothers, Sam and Dean, why do people ship them? Disgusting? Disgusting. They're not in love. They're unhealthily codependent, I'll give you that. But given the way that they were raised to be, I don't really think there was another option, honestly. Meredith Grey and Christina Yang, pretty sure are their names, from Grey's Anatomy. Complete platonic soulmates. I mean, they're the definition of platonic soulmates, and I haven't seen Grey's Anatomy. They're platonic soulmates. You can't convince me otherwise. I mean, they're there for each other. They're sisters. They're more than sisters. They're just like, they're other halves of the same person. And I think that's extremely beautiful and important to have that representation in media. And I've talked to someone who likes to say this, that they think it's really harmful for two characters, specifically two male characters, to be really close in a show or be really close in like a book or something, and for people to try to ship them together because they think, well, so you're saying that men can't just have non-sexual relationships. They can have love platonically. They can't have love platonically, is, what that's saying. I understand that point of view, but I also think in some cases it is very obvious that characters are in love with each other. And in some cases, they are just platonic soulmates, and they're men. Like Sean and Gus from Psych. Another show that I haven't seen, but I've somehow consumed a lot of media on. those two men love each other so much, and from what I've seen, it is beautiful and it is real, and I absolutely love that. Now, a show that I have seen where the characters are like that, New Girl. Cece and Schmidt in love, okay? Nick and Jess in love. The rest of them, Coach, Winston, with Cece, with Jess, with Nick and Schmidt, they're all just platonic best friends. Nick and Schmidt are platonically in love, if that makes sense, because they more than just love each other. I mean, they are also very codependent and unhealthy, but they have so much love and respect for each other, and they really consider each other and everything. They really let their walls down with each other. You know, there's like a whole episode, and it's seen as very silly, and some people don't like it, and I know that, where Schmidt buys Nick a cookie. And Nick does not like that, because he's like, why would you do that for me? That's weird. That's a weird thing for a guy to do for another guy. And Schmidt's like, I don't know, I'm just thinking about you. Got you a cookie. And so then Nick has like this whole spiral, and Winston's like, he just wants to know that you care about him, because you don't show in any way that you care about him. And then Nick goes and he buys a cookie, and he tries to break it in the shape of a star, because Schmidt is Jewish and they didn't sell like the Star of David. And he's like, I got you a cookie because you got me a cookie. And he goes on this whole thing because they're like, this is terrible. That's beautiful. That is a beautiful love of two men that are absolutely not in love. There are some weird sexual things that Schmidt says to Nick, but I don't, it's just because Schmidt is an open man. But at the end of the day, it's just because he is an open man, and they are not in love, though. They are not romantically in love. Maybe curious at best. Another one that I see a lot, which is interesting, Stiles with Scott or Stiles with Derek in Teen Wolf. They're all, I also believe, platonic. Stiles and Scott are definitely brothers. Stiles and Derek are best friend's brother. And not in like the romantic, my best friend's brother. You know, the Tori Vega song? Tori Vega is not her real name. But you know that song? It's like that song, but not romantic. It's just Scott wants to impress his older brother's best friend so bad because he's so cool and scary and intimidating. And the older brother's best friend can't help but to just fucking love this annoying little shit that's always around him. That's their kind of relationship. Characters that kind of vary. I could see both. I could see both ways on this, okay? And this top one, it's gonna be a doozy. It might be a little bit of controversy. And I need you to stick with me, Draco and Harry. I'm encompassing this opinion with all the books and all the movies. I'm not including Cursed Child. I'm just not. I think they have a very complicated relationship. I think they do care for each other. I think that's very obvious, especially once the war has begun and Harry runs, off to try to find the Horcruxes with Hermione and Ron. It's obvious that Draco cares for Harry, even minorly for Harry, in the scene where they bring Harry to him and they're like, you make sure that this is Harry Potter before we call he who must not be named, of course. And Draco hesitates. He does not say anything. He does not want to say anything. And I think that's for multiple reasons. One, he understands what killing Harry will do for the war, will do for his family. And he does not want that. And he wants to protect his mother and, his dad. But like his mother, he wants to protect the people. He does not really want to be a Death Eater anymore. He wants to do the right thing. But also, he cares for Harry, and he can't see someone that he's, kind of grown up with a little bit die. And I don't think that has a romantic implication. I think it's a great sign of growth on Draco's part. Obviously, we've all read the fanfics. Okay. We've all had AO3 and Wattpad before, because if you're watching this, it means, unless you're like my mom or my best friend, it means that it popped up on your For You page somehow, because the algorithm was like, you're gonna like this content. We should bring you here. Okay, so that means that you hold up a lot as a teenager, preteen, in your childhood years. You read fan fiction. Maybe you wrote a little fan fiction. I know I did. It was a collaborative fan fiction with my best friend at the time, Carolina, and our other best friend, Shannon. It was me. I'm actually not going to tell you more about this. So there's a lot of good, dreary fan fiction out there, I believe. And, you know, I think that it could have a compelling point. The enemies to lovers, the tension that you see, the redemption arc of Draco to that. I've never understood it for Draco and Hermione because he does hate crime her the entirety of the books. I also don't like Ron and Hermione in the books or the movies. I think Hermione should have been with George Weasley. Anyways, there's no specific scene that I could say has like romantic implications for me for Draco and Harry, but I could see the recipe in a fiction story for them to be together. I could see that, absolutely. But for me, I don't think they're platonic soulmates. I just think that they are good representations of children in war being thrust onto one side or the other, influenced by the adults in their lives, trying to make the best decisions that they can and the best choices that they can given the circumstances. And I'm also always going to be mad that they cut out the scene from the movies where Hagrid is holding Harry and he, you know, flips out of Hagrid's hands in Deathly Hallows Part 2, of course. And he flips out of Hagrid's hands and Draco runs at him and tosses him a wand so that he can fight Voldemort. Always gonna be mad that they cut out that scene. Honestly, all the scenes, but especially that scene. Anyways, another one that varies a lot is Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Genuinely, it depends on what version you are watching it or reading. In the books, in the books itself, it switches between a good brotherly bond and maybe some sexual tension. In the movies with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, great movies, by the way. I loved them so much. I think that they were just best friends and brothers by bond more than blood. And I think it's a really beautiful thing. I do think that they're soulmates platonically. But the TV show with Martin Freeman and Benedict Cumberbatch, they're in love. And you cannot convince me otherwise. They are in love. So that's another one that it depends on what iteration you are consuming at that time. Goes back and forth. Bucky and Captain America goes back and forth. Bucky and Cap back before they had the serum put into them. I don't know how to say this. I feel like Cap wasn't into Bucky, but I feel like Bucky had a thing for Cap, but they weren't really allowed to explore that at all. And then it was just, you know, brotherly. And it was an intense love, and yes. And then, you know, after Winter Soldier, when Cap gets him back, I think just brotherly. I think just an intense love, and their only hold on the old lives that they used to have. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. I again could see the argument for them being platonic, more than just platonic, and like in love and everything. And I love the interpretations that people have said of the scene in the first Captain America movie where Peggy and Cap look like they're about to kiss after, you know, Cap comes back and he's like, I couldn't call my ride. And Bucky's like, hey, let's hear it for Captain America. And I love that people are like, that's him being jealous that she was about to kiss him and he had to interrupt it and then realize what he did, so he had to like play it off, you know? I think that's really cute. But I don't think that they're in love. Okay, we're gonna go back to some in love ones before I continue talking about the other two. People that are Harry and Luna staying in this Harry Potter realm, which I now realize I've talked about for a very long time, I think Harry and Luna should have ended up together. I know that they drained Ginny of all personality in the movies, which is terribly unfortunate because the actress that plays her absolutely adorable, and I think she has the capacity to have done a great Ginny, but they stripped her of that. They took that away from her. Anyways, I absolutely their book relationship is better than the movie relationship, but it's a high school relationship, you know? It doesn't have the longevity of marriage and children. They're trauma bonded, and she has the family that he's always wanted, so I could see that being, you know, an easy, like, oh, he gets to marry into the family with the woman who's like a mother to him. How beautiful, how sweet. But I think that was the main driving force for them getting together, and I just don't think that's enough, because I think it's just, I just think it should have been like a high school thing, and him and Luna are perfect for each other. Going back to Teen Wolf, Stiles and Lydia, they're beautiful. Stiles and Lydia are beautiful. I did not watch the Teen Wolf movie because I heard it was terrible, and I think I didn't really like the last season of Teen Wolf, so I didn't really want to put more of a bad taste in my mouth. I heard, spoiler alert, that in the movie they break up Stiles and Lydia. I guess because Dylan O'Brien just like wouldn't be in the movie or couldn't be in the movie or something. I think that's a stupid decision. I've chosen to ignore that fucking decision. Stiles and Lydia are in game. Absolutely. They are so cute. They see each other so well. They love each other so deeply, so truly, so purely. Okay, so in the Once Upon a Time universe, in case you guys have never watched this show, which again, if you're on my channel, you've watched this show, maybe not to fruition, but you've seen at least a little bit. I think it's really funny that people think that Regina and Emma are in love. I also don't disagree with them. I love the idea of them being like co-parents over their son. And I really love the idea of them just being lesbian moms of their son. I think they're a perfect example of enemies to lovers. And I adore that shit so much. It is beautiful. It is gorgeous. Are you kidding me? They would be so gorgeous. I love them as friends. I love them as, you know, like more than friends, like best friends, not like romantically, but I also love them romantically. So that's another one that I could really sway either way with, because I also really love Emma and Cap together. And I don't want Cap and Regina to be together. I don't think they have that type of chemistry. So maybe a type of polycule situation could happen. I don't know. I think that they all seem smart and mature enough and have good enough communication to make that type of thing happen. Okay? My last on the list of these two are just platonic. Tony Stark and Captain America. No. I don't see them romantically at all. I just see them as really good friends, and it might be influenced by RDJ and Chris Evans's relationship in real life, because I know like that they're really good friends, that they're really close. RDJ convinced Chris to become Captain America because he turned it down several times, as I'm sure you guys know if you are Marvel fans. And I think that's great, but Tony Stark is a playboy. I get that. But that doesn't mean that he has to be shipped with every character. Unlike Wolverine, who absolutely should be shipped with every character because he's a man whore and I love him for it. I have two more here that I think are completely in love. They're not from the same thing. One is from Lord of the Rings. One is from Criminal Minds. Samwise Gamgee and Frodo are in love. Are you fucking stupid if you don't agree with that? They are so fucking in love. Sean Astin, the beautiful man. I have a signed Samwise Gamgee Funko Pop from him. It's, I think, one of my favorite things that I fucking own. Even he was like, how do you know that they didn't kiss a little bit? How do you know? How do you know that they didn't kiss a little bit? While they were on their trek to Mordor. You don't know that. And I think he's absolutely correct for that assessment. Absolutely correct. Very, very, very accurate. Very astute. I'm pretty sure I talked about him in the first episode too, which is very funny. And honestly, will probably keep happening because I love Lord of the Rings so much. They're in love. They're so very in love. And you know what? Frodo going to the Elven lands, I think that's part of the reason why. Obviously, there's trauma, there's PTSD. How do you go back to just living a normal fucking life after you've gone through all of that? Through the darkness, the PTSD and everything, the dark thoughts that the ring put into his head, which, if you read the books, it goes more in depth into that. So, in case you don't know, because you, like, maybe didn't read the books or anything like that, the way that the ring tries to tempt Samwise Gamgee, because the ring tries to tempt you into darkness, that's like its whole thing, is he's like, hey, you can have all this power and control that you want, and you can just make a giant fucking garden. That's how the ring tries to tempt Samwise, is by just telling him that he could have a giant garden that he gets to control and work on. And he's like, well, no, I want my little garden. I just want it to be me. I don't want other people to work on it, which is very cute and very pure. Anyways, they're in love. And I think one of the reasons that Frodo left is because he knew how much Samwise wanted to have a family, and so he left so that he could have that. Just my theory. I also have Star Wars theories. So I do plan on having a future episode that is like solely revolves around geek talk. And Star Wars, my Star Wars theories will be in there. We will talk more about Lord of the Rings and why I like the Hobbit movies. I think they're good movies. I think Peter Jackson did a good job for what he was given, okay? Fuck. And just, other things. I mean, Percy Jackson. We can talk about Harry Potter. We can talk about mythology. That will be in a future episode. Back to the list. We have one more here. It's from Criminal Minds. This is a topic that actually makes me extremely heated. I mean, more heated than an oven in the middle of summer in Texas. Penelope Garcia and Derek Morgan are in love. They're in love. I didn't even finish the show, but I did Google it. They don't end up together? Wait. He calls her his sunshine, his lifeline, his personal goddess, and they don't end up together? She's so clearly into him. The chemistry is off the charts. All they do is very inappropriately flirt with each other constantly. He cares about her endlessly, and she him. You want, these two are just really good platonic people, like they love each other so much, but they're just platonic. Yeah, that's Spencer Reed and Penelope Garcia, okay? They are beautiful. They are a brother and sister fucking duo. But Derek Morgan and Penelope Garcia are in love, and in my head, they are fucking married. And the only reason that they didn't get together, and you cannot change my mind about this, is because she is a bigger woman, and she is not conventionally fucking attractive, meaning skinny. Because she is beautiful. She's got a strong, multi-dimensional personality. And I love them. They love them. What do you mean? I stopped in season 7 when, again, spoiler alert, when Hotch's wife dies in a very traumatic fucking way, I stopped watching the show. Genuinely, last year. I started watching it. I was going to binge watch the whole fucking thing. I got that far. Stopped. I'm still on the next episode, which is her funeral. Could not make it through that. I was like, no, I'm absolutely not doing this. Oh, goodness. Anyways, they're in love and they should have ended up together. And I will forever be pissed off about that fact. All right, we're going to calm down a little bit and we're going to read some Reddit stories. I believe these are both... Oh, my goodness, please. These are both from Am I the Asshole? Because it's just it's my favorite one to read from. I have a Reddit account, and it sends me notifications all the time for stories that it thinks that I like, and you know what? It is right most of the time. I really enjoy, there is a Tinder subreddit where people, 90% of the time, they're posting, like, dating fails, which I will also have an episode where I show you some of my personal dating fails with screenshot receipts, babes. You're gonna love it. And... so, they'll be talking about that. Sometimes they're talking about, like, dating successes or just asking, like, general questions like, hey, how can I, like, better my profile? What am I doing wrong? Stuff like that. And I love reading that also because it makes me feel not so alone in the tragic world that was dating But, now I'm dating the world's most perfect man and also the man of my dreams. So it's fine. Literally every even the boxes that little 13-year-old Erica had, which was like, what if I date someone that's either from like Lebanon, Kansas or Sioux Falls, South Dakota? And then I can have like a little supernatural connection to him because I've always, I have, since I was 12 or 13 years old, been obsessed with supernatural. I've tried to calm it as an adult. It hasn't. It has not quelled at all. Let me tell you, I go feral. If I ever see a 67 Impala, which I once saw in person, I just started crying. That was last year. It wasn't even that long ago. It wasn't even a full 12 months ago. It was within the last 12 months. I saw a 67 Chevy Impala in person, live and in person. I also saw one being sold on Facebook Marketplace. I threw up out of excitement. Absolutely ridiculous. Where was I going with this? Oh, anyways, he at one point lived in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I was like, what a ridiculous box for you to check off, sir. Excuse me, how dare you? He's beautiful, and I adore him. Anyways, what the fuck was that? Why did I start talking about that? There was no reason. Oh, there was a reason. Anyways, so today I was reading 2 separate Am I the Asshole stories. And it's always really fun reading these because you're like, is this even a real story? Are these real people? These are just so good. So this one. Am I the asshole? Denied bereavement to employee who lost a 3-day-old fetus. Well, that's the title. Also, I may be the asshole because I asked her how this is possible as she lost the last fetus 9 days ago and took a week of bereavement PTO. She replied that though it's none of my business, she and her husband got pregnant again the night before she returned to work. That means she carried the child for 3 days and lost it. She's lost a whopping 13 unborn children this way through 2024, all similar lengths of pregnancy. This year I'm putting my foot down. Today I was wrestling with updating our bereavement policy to add a documentation requirement, essentially due to a single employee who is going to get the same answer, medical/funerary docs or not, and decided, fuck it. This is posted by u/top_understanding166. Because if you're like me, you like to follow up on things and see it and like read all the comments and sift through all that. So that's that. This is crazy. And I have a couple friends in HR from like different jobs that I've had that I still talk to. And I did talk to them about this. Well, I tried to talk to them. Only one responded. I talked to one of them about this, and she said that this actually happens a lot, where people are trying to work the system, and they're like, oh, blah, 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 and they try to come up with bereavement for things that absolutely haven't fucking happened. Crazy work. Also, physically impossible for her to have gotten pregnant this amount of time. 9 days. She lost a fetus 9 days ago. She took a week of bereavement. And then had another fetus for 3 days? You wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know if you were pregnant. 13 times? That's like, what, once a month? That's 25% of the weeks in the year? That's not real. Is that real? Was that good? Did I just do math in my head that fast? Absolutely impossible. 52 divided by 13. No. Yeah. 52 divided by 13. 4. Hello? Honey, you cannot be getting pregnant that often. I truly feel bad for people that miscarry. I know that is a very hard thing to go through, and it is very emotionally draining, and I get that. This person is lying. There's no way that you knew that you were pregnant immediately after losing one child for 3 days. That is This is impossible. This is not real. This can't be real. This lady, I'm saying, I don't know if the story is real or not, but this lady absolutely cannot be real with thinking this. Unless she thinks that her period is her miscarrying. That's crazy work. Okay, here's the next one. It's actually a little bit longer. It's, another Am I the Asshole, as I mentioned. Oh, God, please. It's posted by u/odd-independent1078. It was posted just a few hours ago. Am I the asshole for telling my mom my dead dad can't dance with me at my wedding when she told me she thought I'd ask my dad? I think you know where this is going. Okay, my dad when I, 29 female, was 10. My mom's been remarried since I was 14. Her husband is Mike. Mike's fine, but he's not my dad. He wanted to be when he married my mom, and she wanted that too, but I didn't. And because of that, there's an underlying tension surrounding my relationship with Mike. They both felt like I should have allowed him to take on the role of a dad to me, and they've always expressed disappointment that I was never open to that. Even though I get along just fine with Mike, it wasn't enough. He has no kids, so they felt like it was only right that a fatherless girl would try to let a childless man in so we could both have that relationship. I bring all this up because I know how my mom feels. 2 weeks ago, Mike... Oh my god. I accidentally clicked out of it! Okay, 2 weeks ago, Mike asked who I was walking down the aisle with, and I said I'd be walking myself. Then he asked who I'd choose for the father-daughter dance, and I said I was considering whether or not I'd ask my mom. It was after this, Mom told me that she thought I'd ask my dad to dance with me because that's tradition, and I knew she was talking about Mike. I knew she didn't mean my actual dad, but my reply was, well, my dead dad can't dance with me at my wedding, and I don't know how she thought that would work. My reply was not well received, and my mom told me to stop being a brat, and I knew what she meant. I told her I was giving the most honest reply because dad died when I was 10, and there's no possible way for me to dance with him. She told me she understood what I was doing, and it made me a brat. I told her she shouldn't worry, I'll ask her, because this helped me make my mind up. I think that's supposed to mean, like, she shouldn't worry about her asking, like, she's not gonna ask her mom, because she just made up her mind. She told me I owed Mike an apology, and then her, once I finished apologizing to him. Am I the asshole? This is crazy. I feel like I have kind of some insight into this, personally. So, the man that I call dad is not by blood my dad. If you watched my first episode, I do talk about my dad, and I say, you know, he's been with my mom for 13 years. When they met, she was a single mom with me. He treated me really well. So, might have put the pieces together then. And I love him with my whole soul. I love him so much, I do genuinely consider him my dad. Because my birth father is not in my life anymore. He has been amazing to me. He has supported me. He has unconditionally loved me since he came into my mother's life. He's never made me feel like I wasn't his kid. He never tried to push the relationship on me. He actually very clearly was like, hey, like, I don't want to replace him or anything. I just want you to feel comfortable around me. I care a lot about him. Anyone that knows me in real life has absolutely seen me cry because I love him so much. If I get married, he's not sitting here right now, but that look was for him. When I get married, hopefully to this beautiful man that I'm currently dating, I will ask him to do the father-daughter dance with me. And potentially to walk me down the aisle. I kind of want my mom to walk me down the aisle, also to be the officiant of my wedding. Don't know if she'll be up for both of those, but I mean, you gotta walk down the aisle to get to the officiant area anyways. Like, it's just, it would make most sense if we walked down the aisle together and then she just, like, stands right up there. She's beautiful. She should be on display, you know? And anyways, knowing how much I love him and how great he's been, and he's been in my life for 13 years. I was, like, 12 years old when he came into my life. So, kind of a similar time period, because I'm 25, about to be 26. She's 29, came in at 14. So a similar time span there. You can't push that kind of a relationship. If it doesn't happen organically, then it doesn't happen. She lost her dad, a man that she loved, a man that she looked up to, from what it sounds like. I mean, we only have this to go off of here. And you can't just be like, well, You ain't got a dad, he ain't got a kid, boom, perfect. I understand the logic, thinking that that should work out like that, but it's just not how it works, you know? You gotta let a relationship foster on its own. And if you don't, you're just gonna create resentment. Also, this is her wedding. And people have their own opinions about weddings, of course, and who should be invited, who should do what, the traditions that you have, keeping up an appearance, the family name, whatever. It's your fucking wedding. Do what you want with it. Nothing fucking matters. I mean, truly. Honestly. It's just a giant party celebrating your love for hopefully your best friend. Except for my best friend's wedding, which was, you know, her second best friend, because she can't ever replace me. It's just, it's a really hard position to be put in, I'm sure, for her. But for her mom to act like that, to just act completely entitled to her daughter's love and say and who is and who isn't a dad to her. And if he came into her house, if he came into her life at 14 and she's now 29 and they haven't gotten that bond yet, one, they never are. But two, how did he not fill that role? Just naturally. Maybe that's something that the mom needs to look into. I'm just saying, no, you can't force this at all. I do not believe that this woman is the asshole in any way, shape, or form. This is something that you can't force. And I honestly think it was a little funny that she said, how my dead dad can't dance with me. How is that going to work? I genuinely think that's really funny. Especially if they've had this talk before. She's enforced before. Hello, this man is not a dad to me. He's cool. We get along fine, but he's not my dad. And you're still going to push it and be like, so who's walking you down the aisle? Hey, buddy. If she didn't ask you, it's not going to be you. It's not going to be you. So next, I want to share this amazing board game that we found recently at a secondhand game store here, like in the town that's like an hour away from us. It's, when you live in America, it's really not that long of a drive to do something. So it's a Dungeons and Dragons themed game. It's, the company that made it is Dungeons and Dragons, and they actually made a whole slew of board games. And maybe I'm the only one that's behind on this. Or, well, my boyfriend also don't know about this. But these are, I mean, it's amazing. So, we're at the secondhand store one day. Actually, we went to a couple of them, and we love board games. Everyone in my family, like my immediate family, we love board games. We love card games. We love video games. That's just like, it's something that we've all always loved. Yahtzee, gin, shit on my neighbor, like, I don't care. Anything and everything. Life and Clue have always been my personal favorites. I'm also impartial to categories, but it's really hard to play that with my dad and one of my sisters because their rules are a little bit different than my rules, mine and my mom's rules, so we kind of can't play that together. But anyways, so the boyfriend is also really big into board games. Him and his sister also really love it. So we were looking for board games that we could kind of all play together, and we came across this one. It's Dungeons and Dragons. It's called The Wrath of Ashur-Dalan. Ashur-Dalan? Don't know how to pronounce it. Don't crucify me in the comments. And it is so fun. It's so fun. It's amazing. So there are 5 different classes that you could be in it, in this specific one. And I'm not going to tell you the classes because I don't want to like ruin anything. I don't know. It was fun for me to like go through and discover everything that was in there. So I'm just going to give you like vague descriptions of everything. But basically, every single time that you play this game, it's going to be different because you can play as a different class. And they have like your power cards and everything already written down, how much HP you have, what your AC is, like all of that. Armor class is AC, in case you're not in the know. All of that is written down for you. So I know some people whose favorite part of D&D is the, character customization and everything, and this is just D&D inspired board game. And the setup takes kind of a while, and so does the cleanup, because there's so many different pieces, and you're not going to use all the pieces. There's, I think, 13 or 14 different adventures in the adventure book that they have, which is great. So you can choose which adventure that you play, It recommends a couple based on like your experience with this board game. It's so fun. And there's a bunch of tiles, dungeon tiles, because you're in, dungeons, obviously, fighting dragons, not all the time. And so it changes every time. It's not just like one set board game. It's if your character walks to this area and there's an unexposed edge there, you set a tile down, and then you can walk to another area and set a tile down there. So every time you play, it's a different adventure, it's a different class, the tiles go in a different area. It is so fun. But what's more fun about this is that they made other board games, and they can all go together. So specifically, the one that it says in the instructions is the Castle Ravenloft, I believe. The Castle Ravenloft board game goes with this one. I believe any of them can go with any of them, but it mentions that one by name. So there are 2 adventures in the adventure book that are specifically designed to be combined with that board game. So you can play with way more people, like a big party, and you can just make a giant thing. It is so fun. It is amazing. We've played it with so many of our friends now, my neighbors, his sister, and everyone that's played it just absolutely loves it. The detail that was put into it is so great. The little figures for all the monsters is amazing. Also, you can play it on your own. You can literally play it by yourself, which is super fun. And it's a little different than regular D&D because, in regular D&D, if one character dies, like, you guys can, like, heal him maybe if you have the right people that are powered up in the right class and everything, and you work together, you can maybe, like, heal them, bring them back, whatever. But in this, if that person dies, you all die. Your quest fails. There are healing surge tokens, so if they die and you have a healing surge token on their next turn, you can bring them back at like half health. So that's a thing, don't get me wrong. But it does help bring a certain amount of teamwork into it, because we had one of the friends that we played with, he apparently typically goes off and does his own thing and doesn't care who he screws over in D&D. He's just there to be crazy. He's there to be a rogue, which is very funny, I think. But when we were playing, because I explained that rule to him, like, hey, if you die, we all die, he was being a great teammate, and we all worked together, and we won, and it's really fun. And I haven't played with anyone where there's ever been like arguments or anything. There's no animosity there. And I think that's really amazing. And also, that whole story kind of sounded like an ad, but I promise you that it's not. I just wanted to share something really cool that we found. Something else that I really love in board games, because we also have like a Target-themed Monopoly board game, which is really, really cute. I love like the little pieces. I love like if you're giving me a board game and you give me like metal pieces to move around as my own thing, oh my god, I'm gonna love that so much. It's gonna be great. So they put a lot of attention to detail in both of the board games, actually, that I just mentioned. Both the Target Monopoly and the Dungeons and Dragons one. A lot of detail in all the little monsters, and the names are on the bottom, which is really cute and very helpful. Love that a lot. So that's just something really cool that I wanted to share with you guys. And it also leads me into my next story, which is the only time that I've actually gotten to play D&D. I've watched other people play it a lot. I know the basics of it. One of my really good friends, he has played D&D for years, and we used to live in the same town, Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and we would try to have lunch or dinner pretty regularly, and he would always tell me about what was going on in his sessions, because he had anywhere from 1 to 3 games happening at a time, you know, depending on schedule and people and everything and the story. So he would always tell me where his D&D game was at the time, and I absolutely loved hearing it. So the only time that I've actually gotten to play it, because I'm not super great at making routine commitments, like we can have like a hour or 2 hours every single week, every 2 weeks, whatever. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. My whim changes constantly. It was an online game with someone. I was in a Facebook group, and it was for people like, you know, beginners looking for games and everything. And I was like, hey, I've never played before. I don't want to spend money on this. I would just love to be able to play a little bit. Is there anyone that would love to like maybe play with me that could like help guide me and like teach me and everything? And someone reached out to me and they were like, hey, I've DM'd a couple of campaigns. I would love to like do one with you. Now, we sat and played online. We had just like a phone call going. It wasn't like a Skype. It was just like a regular phone call. For, I believe it was 5 hours straight that we played. It's the only time that I played D&D. So I was an elf. And, I didn't really beef up my stats enough. I was just trying, I don't know. I don't really understand how it went south so quickly, but I kept rolling really poorly and ended up somehow being a really bad prostitute elf. And I lost like the family home, and we had a ship, and I lost a ship, and my sister was apparently very mean to me, my elf sister in the game. And it was just terrible. And the DM, I don't know. I don't know if it's normal or not, but the DM did have a character that was in love with me, and we, did things, and we kind of... The DM got over too into the NSFW scenes that he was voicing, which made me like a little uncomfortable. I was like, I don't know if that's actually like normal or not, because this is my first time playing. And then he just like, it was 5 hours, so I was like, okay, like I gotta go. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm having so much fun, I didn't even realize. And I was like, yeah, no, absolutely. And then he just kept messaging me all the time, and I was like, no, I don't have time for this. Like, I will let you know when I have time for this. But like either way, he kept reaching out. And then he ended up being like terribly transphobic, because we were friends on Facebook, and he ended up being terribly transphobic, and so I blocked him. I was like, oh god, goodness gracious. So that's the only time I've actually gotten to play Dungeons and Dragons. So if there's anyone out there that knows how to play and wants to do a not regularly scheduled game, I would absolutely love to play that, as long as you don't get weird about it. Please. I do believe Fridays will be the day that I will be posting these videos. I think that sounds great. I'm trying to film them at the beginning of the week, and then I'll edit them and I'll post them on Fridays. So, I hope that you liked the last episode. I really hope that you liked this episode. Hopefully they get a little bit less awkward every time. I already have a couple people that want to be guests on it. Some of them are long distance, so I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And one of them is actually local here in town, so we just have to find a time that we could carve out to sit and talk, sit and have a little chat. So I do have some guests that will be coming on, and I hope that you guys will find that very exciting, because I love all my friends so much. They are amazing and perfect, and I hope that your friends are also amazing and perfect, but they probably aren't as amazing and perfect as my friends, because I have the best. The creme de la creme, cream of the crop, the 10 out of 10s, 15 out of 10s. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. I hope you guys have a great day and, a great weekend, because this will come out on a Friday. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. I already have a couple of subscribers, which is so exciting. But I'm very grateful to everyone that's watching this, whether you know me in real life and you're just trying to support me or not. I'm very grateful for you, and I'm excited to be doing this with you. And so shoot me a like and a subscribe down below. Comment anything, as always, that you'd like me to talk about. Your opinions on the characters that I said were in love or not in love. I'd love to hear your opinions on the Am I the Asshole stories that I read. Yeah. Thanks for joining me for nap time, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Oh my god, there's a Clue Dungeons and Dragons? Shut the fuck up. That would be my whole life. I would be so annoying if I received this. Are you kidding me right now? Oh no. Oh my god. Hold on. See this right now. Look at this girl. Look at her. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? She is literally